You don't need to be this loud, flamboyant speaker in order to inspire your audience, because the power of your words outlives your personality. For example, none of us know what Abraham Lincoln sounded like, but we can all look at the Gettysburg Address and see it was a great speech. The difference comes when you learn how to put together your words in an energetic way, rather than desperately injecting energy into your words. From my earliest years, I've been an avid reader. I was reading books before I could even properly speak. Books like The Hungry Caterpillar, Thomas the Tank Engine, and then all the rest of the classics going through. I loved words because when you read, that's all that you have, isn't it? It's from those words that you've got to draw the energy, the meaning, the richness of what you're talking about. And that's why when it comes to speeches, I always have this laser focus on word wizardry, looking at how we can use our words to add power and impact to a speech. And that's what we're going to look at in today's video. We're going to look at some different rousing rhetoric techniques that you can use to bring your speeches to life and impact the audiences you speak to. The first technique is the buzzword. And this is the simplest word technique you can use, because to do it, you only need one word. We have words in the English language, and of course in all languages as well, that have so much meaning and depth to them. For example, consider the word love. It's a simple word we use all the time, but there's so many different ways we can interpret, feel, and connect with that word. The buzzword is all about picking one of these deep meaning words and scattering it throughout your speech and using that word as an anchor for all the rest of the key ideas that you have. One example of rousing rhetoric was Harvey Milk's speech at Gay Pride, I believe it was in 1978, and he talked about you've got to give them hope. And he repeated this word hope throughout the speech. And he brought this idea of hope in terms of this is what we're bringing together. This is how we join the community. These inform the steps that we're going to take. And all of that was based in this one word of hope. The buzzword is a very simple technique to use. You just repeat a word throughout the speech. But you've really got to focus on what word am I choosing and why does that word have so much meaning? For Harvey Milk back in the 70s, it was hope. For your speech nowadays, what is it? Number two is one of the speaker's favorite techniques. If you go to any speakers organization like Toastmasters, National Speakers Association, Professional Speakers Association, you will see them using this all of the time. It is the rule of three. Saying things in threes, and there are so many examples you can point to of why we say things in threes, and not just in terms of speaking as well. You look at things like the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. In religion, you look at something like fraternity, liberty, equality in the French Constitution, in politics, in nationality. So you see this use of three used throughout our society, and speeches are no different. An example, you might look at something like Malala Yousafzai's Harvard commencement address, where she talked about we want education to be valued in every child, in every country, at every age. Rule of three. Why is the rule of three so effective, and why do we see it everywhere in our society? The rule of three is the smallest number we recognize as a pattern. For example, if I say apple, banana, what comes next? Well, you might think apple, banana, pear, apple, banana, peach. But what if I say apple, banana, car? Well, with the first two, you might have thought that the pattern was a fruit and the third thing's going to be fruit. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm saying something that begins with the first three letters of the alphabet. So until you hear three things, you don't necessarily notice the pattern. But as soon as we hear that third thing, that's when the pattern starts to emerge. That's when our brain lights up and goes, ding, 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 I've recognized something. It draws attention to that pattern. And when you use three, it's the smallest number that allows you to do this. So if you list 10 things, yes, you're going to draw attention to a pattern, but people are going to start to forget what some of those things were. So 3 is the magic number because it's large enough to activate that pattern recognition. It's small enough to remember easily. And that's the secret of this. When you have a couple of key ideas that you want to get across to the audience, you want them to notice it and you want them to remember it, rule of 3 is where you go. Would you like to have a speech like Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, or Harvey Milk's Gay Pride Address, or Malala Yousafzai's Harvard Commencement Address? How can you put together a speech that stands the test of time like those speeches? That's what we can help you with in Amplify Spark Your Speeches. This is my 12-month online speaker program. This program guides you in a step-by-step process through all of the key components of how you put together an inspiring speech. This is a course that I did live as a series of live workshops with attendees, took all of the recordings from those so that you can now watch this in your own time and schedule. It's there for you to access at any time, go through it at your own pace. To sign up for the program, you can either pay month by month for the 12 months, $29 a month, or you can pay an upfront discount of $297. Whatever payment method you use, the program is yours for life after you've completed the 12 months. What I like to do to give people an opportunity to come into the program, see if it's going to be right for you and your speaking journey going forward, is I offer that first month for a $1 trial. So you can come into the program, experience the first month of content, see if the format, see if the material is going to be helpful for you going forward. After that 1 month trial, you can choose either to cancel. Hey, no worries. You've still got some training. It's only cost you $1, so you've still learned something even if you don't do the rest of the program. Or alternatively, you now have the rest of the 11 months where you go, yes, this is something that's going to be really helpful and useful for me going forward. To activate your $1 trial, go to the description in the video below. You'll have a link that takes you to the information page for the Amplify Spark Your Speeches course. You'll see a lot more information about what the content of the course is, how it works. In front of you, you'll see the purchase options. There's 2 options, the monthly and the annual. Make sure you've selected the monthly option, click through, use the code YouTube at checkout. All lowercase, all one word, nice and easy to remember. YouTube is where you've come from. That will take your first month subscription from $29 down to $1, and you can enjoy the full benefits of the 1 month trial. Now I've got one more tip I want to share with you in how to generate rousing rhetoric in your speeches. Our third one is an obscure one, but it's a really standout technique if you can employ it effectively. It's called the anti-metabole. The who? Sorry, did not catch it the first time. The anti-metabole. I prefer to call this by the less technical term of the switcheroony. And you'll know the most famous example of this switcheroony. It's JFK's inauguration speech. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. This is a really standout technique, and it's something that JFK really made his own. That's the most famous example of his usage. It's certainly not his only example of this usage. And the reason why this is such an effective technique is because it breaks the pattern of what people think to be true. When you do this switcheroony, you state something they think is true, and you reverse it to something that is more true. So what JFK was saying here was, it's not about asking what your country can do for you. It's not about having this reliance and this dependence on the government. What I really want you to think about is think about how you can be empowered to add and contribute. It's not relying on the government to make the country better. It's about you having an active role in making the country better. So that's the idea that he's trying to turn on its head. The idea of citizens feeling disempowered and having to look up to a higher power, and instead helping them feel empowered and contribute to that overall picture. Now this can be a tricky technique to pull off because you need the words to work both ways, otherwise it is contrast and juxtaposition, but it's not this specific technique where you have this mirroring of words. When you get those words to mirror, it's really catchy, super memorable, and that's why, well, one of the reasons why we look at that JFK speech from so long ago, because he made a key idea stand out. If he just said, look, don't rely so much on us, you need to take a bit of responsibility for yourselves, same message, not as catchy, is it? And that's the secret of rousing rhetoric. It's not so much about the ideas that you have, it's about how you communicate them. It's about how you make those ideas stand out. And these techniques that we've gone through in this video is part of how you make those ideas stand out, how you make your words stand the test of time. Because you only have that one opportunity to perform and deliver on the day, you've got to put as much energy and passion and enthusiasm into that as you can. But that energy and that passion and enthusiasm, it doesn't always go through the ages. But those words do. Those words are etched in stone, they're etched in film, they're etched in AI going forward. Those words are going to outlast the energy that you showed on the day. And if you choose your words correctly, your words can be timeless.